Hello, everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel in the Game Changer. One day more, we are here to talk about football, to talk about what we like, what we love, and today we are heading to Scotland to talk about Celtic against Rangers. Probably the best game we can watch nowadays in Scotland. A big game for both supporters. And yeah, obviously we have been following a bit the Celtic, especially for Wilfred Nancy move from Columbus Crew to Celtic. We have actually a video in YouTube talking about his transition from Columbus Crew to Celtic Glasgow. But unfortunately, today we were recording to talk about the game, but Wilfred Nancy has been sacked. We can see it here in this post in Twitter that unfortunately after 8 games only, now Wilfred Nancy, he's not anymore the coach for Celtic. He lost his first 4 games, 3 in Scotland, 1 in the game against Roma, Gasperini Roma, and then he won 2 games against Aberdeen and Livingston, and now last 2 games against Motherwell, which is a great team. I haven't watched them play, but I heard many good things about them. And then this loss against Rangers that we will discuss today, that I think it was a bit unfair somehow. But yeah, Wilfred Nancy is not anymore Celtic's coach. And yeah, I wanted to ask you your opinion and say welcome also, Tommy. We're gonna talk a bit about the game later, but yeah. What are your first impressions after Wilfred Nancy is not anymore Celtic's coach?
Sad that the first and second video we've done about Celtic and Wilfred Nancy have been the hiring and firing in just over a month. So I think all of us don't want to see things like that happen. People that study the game, love the game, want to work in it and coach in it, but that's the unfortunate reality. And like you just showed with the results, they weren't good enough for a club this big in Scotland. But with some of the performances, I would generally say they there were a lot of, you'd say, dominant performances for periods of time where Celtic wasn't able to capitalize on that momentum and dominance to the full level. And then they became very fragile, whether it was individual mistakes, maybe mentality stuff, or just like losing the control of the game at the wrong moments, where then they were punished. And I think that was a common trend where some of the performances were starting to get better, had really, really good moments for 15-minute spells, 20-minute spells, just like this game. And then Celtic didn't fully capitalize on that momentum, and then it ended up hurting them once again.
Yeah, actually, you have been watching them much more than me, Tommy. But me, I watched the game between Celtic and Rangers, and honestly, I thought Celtic was very good in the first half, especially. But I think also in the second half they have good moments. But yeah, they were in the second half. There were a couple of moments where they lost. I don't know if it's concentration or more related to individual mistakes, and yeah, Rangers punished them. But I think overall they were better. We will see also the stats. We will see a lot of moments where they control the game in possession. Also, I think during the game when they started to press more higher to Rangers, they had a lot of chances and they were controlling the game. And I think if we look at the first half, after the first half they could go easily 3-0, 4-0 in the halftime. So I think it was a bit unfair, the result against Rangers for them. And yeah, I totally understand that nowadays you obviously need results, but I feel also a bit disappointed and a bit sad because I think he deserved a bit more time. He came in a moment in the half of the season. It's not easy to implement your idea. I think we could see good moments in Celtic. I think they were progressing, but yeah, results are results. Also, I think there's a lot of pressure in Celtic nowadays. But I think if you hire a coach like Wilfred Nancy, you need to give him more time. That's my honest opinion. I will have liked to see him more time in Celtic to develop his his ideas. But yeah, that's football. It's modern football nowadays. Coaches are only after 1 month or 2 months, he's already out of his position, of his role. But yeah, that's life. So Tommy, let's go and talk a bit about the lineups first, to put a bit on context, the players that they were not available for both teams, and the formations a bit, and the ideas. We'll start with Celtic. I know you put more attention into Celtic, me a bit more into Rangers. So yeah, we will discuss also a bit the lineups. But yeah, Schmeichel in goal. Sorry if the pronunciation of any of the names is not the best one. But yeah, let's start with the lineup. In the left, as a left wing back, but I don't know if we can call him a left wing back. McCowan, he was more of a midfielder at times, left wing back. Then Kieran Tierney between this position, like a left side center back and left back. Trusty, we probably remember him from Sheffield United. Ralston was more a right side center back or right back. And then Yang Hyun-jung, who was more of a white winger in the right side. Two midfielders, McGregor, the captain, and Engels, that I think he was playing in a bit in white zones. Let's say like this. You will tell us, Tommy, later. And then Maeda as a left white winger. Kenny as a striker, and Nygren, I don't know if I pronounce it well, but he was more of an advanced midfielder, playing inside, playing between the lines, and yeah, we know that they just signed Julian Araujo, the player from Bournemouth, the right back, who was actually also in Football Club Barcelona. He played a few minutes already in this game. I think that we need to also explain that Celtic has some important injuries, especially in center back and right back position. And yeah, what was your takeaway from the lineup and from the players, Tommy, about the game?
Football is evolving, and we want you to be part of this evolution. We have created a community for people who are passionate about the game and want to reflect on it. Inside the Game Changer, on our platform, you will find clips on collective and individual trends, set-piece actions from teams around the world, matches in tactical cameras, monthly talks with professionals, and a space for discussion and reflection about the game among members. Get access to exclusive discounts on our educational courses and additional content. Join the Game Changer using the discount code TGCLab. You will find the link in the description of this video.
Yeah, so with the lineup, some of the things I thought were interesting was Maeda has played centrally or on the left as well, so it was interesting to see him on the left with Kenny high. And then their midfield shape, for me, looked more like a diamond instead of 2 6s or 1 6 and 3 10s. It very much felt like a diamond with McGregor at the base, Engels on the right side, McCowan on the left side, and Nygren as the 10. And I think part of that is, yes, McCowan can play outside, and so he kind of was drifting or spending more time in half spaces looking to face forward. And then Engels did a lot of dropping from kind of an 8 position to a right back position. Then the other thing I thought was really interesting was the back three shape for Celtic. Three players in the back line, but very much looked like a back four, with Tierney as the left back, Trusty and Ralston as the two center backs, and then Engels kind of operating between those two positions of a right 8 and a right back. Those were my main takeaways from their team. And obviously, I think the final bit is, we talked about it before with Nancy's teams having two wing backs, or just really two players that stretch and stay high and wide. And that was Yang and Maeda in this game. And I thought Yang, obviously he scored the goal, but was very, very effective in getting behind the last line. So I thought the shape that they used in possession gave them a lot of control with the ball, and then allowed them to play in behind Rangers' last line pretty successfully. but then there was also moments where they probably needed a little bit more control from that as well. And then the shape that you see here basically is how they defended with maybe wing backs on different heights.
Yeah, we will go now soon to the average positions, and then we can discuss a bit more about what you were explaining. But first, we go to Rangers. I think Butland in goal, he was incredible. He saved a lot of situations. I think if Rangers went into the halftime with only 1-0, it was a bit because of him. And then right back Sterling, in the left Megoma, player who is on loan from Brentford, if I'm not wrong, 19 years old, very young. The two centre backs, Soutar and Fernandez, I think they both more like a box centre back, let's say like this. Fernandez maybe a bit better and a bit more composure with the ball, but they were both suffering to protect the space in behind. And then if we look at the midfielders, they are all very young midfielders. Barron and Raskin were the two midfielders, holding midfielders, and Asgard was more the number 10. Even in the photo, they are positioned differently. But yeah, and then in the right, Gassama more as a right white winger, who is a player that Danny Rohel, Rangers coach, had in Sheffield Wednesday, his former club. So he brought him to Rangers. And then in the left winger, as a left winger, Mickey Moore, we know him probably from Tottenham, very young player, 18 years old, who was playing more as a inside winger, let's call it like this. And then number 9, Josef Chermiti, who is the one who scored the goals for Rangers, and he was key for this win for the Blues. And yeah, I think I feel that it's very interesting that the 3 midfielders and the 3 front players from Rangers are between 18 and 23 years old, all very young and promising. And yeah, we need to also talk about other players that I think that Rangers are missing. One of them is Oliver Antman. It's a player I follow him a lot when I was in Finland. He plays now for the Finland national team. He used to play in Eredivisie in Go Ahead Eagles, and he's a very, very fast winger with spaces. He's probably one of the best players right now for the Finland national team. He's injured right now. And yeah, also Max Aaron, you probably remember him also, Tommy. He was linked to Barcelona at some point when Barcelona needed a right back. And yeah, Miovski also, the striker that Rangers have, that he used to play in Girona, also another interesting striker. And yeah, I think Diomande, who came in the halftime, was a game changer for Rangers. Actually, we will talk about this halftime change later. But yeah, and also Rangers had one player missing, centre back important, Nasser Giga, who is with Burkina Faso in the African Cup of Nations, so he was not available. And yeah, and also other players like Tavernier or Cornelius. Cornelius was not available also. So yeah, Cornelius, we probably I remember him from when he was playing in Olympique Marseille with Roberto De Cervi, being an important centre back also last season for Marseille. And yeah, let's go now to see the average positions for Celtic and Rangers. First of all, if you want, Tommy, you can start for Celtic average position. You are mute, Tommy, sorry.
Sorry, back 3 with Tierney more of a left back. You can see Angles number 27 between that kind of right 8 and right back position. And then a bit of this is mixed up because Maeda changed positions and so did Yang. Yang flipped sides towards the end of the game when Araujo came on. And you can obviously see with a lot of the subs that came into the game late on how much Celtic was pressing. And I think we'll talk about this, but the one glaring thing for me looking at these average positions, especially of the starting teams, were how much more compact and central Celtic were compared to Rangers' team.
Mhm. Let's try to forget about number 38 and number 13 because they are actually Maeda and Yang that they were white players, but during the game they changed position. So Scout when talking about the average positions, they put them more inside, but no, they were white players in the left or in the right, but they were playing white. But what we can see here is what you already said, Tommy, that we can see McGregor more centrally as a holding midfielder, and then Engels more in the right side. Number 13, sorry, is Yang. Number 18, Nygren more as a number 10, playing very, very inside. And at times we saw him, because when he was defending as a right winger or right wide midfielder, but we saw him at times playing in the left side even. And then McCowan, that we can see here that he was playing in between, a bit between the side, a bit between more inner zones. And yeah, we can see also Kenny more as a classical striker, sometimes coming deep to ask for the ball. But if we see Rangers, we can see the 4+2, very easy to spot it. And then we can see Mickey Moore, number 47, as I say, playing more inside. Number 11, who is actually Asgard, that we talk about him, that he was more of a number 10 playing in the right pocket, that in the halftime they changed him for Diomande. It was an important change on the game. And then we can see also Gassama, number 23, who was more of a white winger in the right side, a player who can attack the space. I think he creates some danger, especially in the first half, and also in the second half with Rangers goals. And yeah, this is a bit about the average position. Let's watch now some stats also. We can see here, if we go to the expected goals, actually Celtic, we can see, especially in green, Celtic in the expected goal dynamics, that we can see that in the first half, Celtic created much more. We can see 0.92 in the first half, Rangers only 0.23. But overall, Celtic was much better in the first half. And obviously, we always talk about this, Tommy, but in the expected goals, there are many situations that they don't end up in a clear chance, but you can feel that it's very close to become a scoring opportunity. And in terms of ball possession, I think Celtic was also even more dominant in the second half. Obviously, the result, when you are down, it's normal. You commit more players forward and you have more ball possession. And we can see here the pressing intensity, also very, very high from Celtic. Yeah, what do you want to highlight, Tommy, from these stats?
One thing that I think shows their differences in approach to their attacking philosophy or patterns is the long pass percentage share, where Rangers is almost double Celtic's long pass percentage, and that was something that stuck out for me, from the average formation positions to pass networks to long pass share, and then kind of how quickly Rangers attacked. I think they all kind of play off each other quite well. Rangers very much more central, very much more direct, and then Celtic very much look more to connect with short passes and then bring the game up together.
Yeah, I think especially in the first half, when Celtic started to press a bit more higher, because first minutes, I think they were not pressing that much. But later, when Celtic started to press more aggressive, Rangers started to kick more the ball long. And I feel only at times, Josef Chermiti, the striker who can hold up play, he did well, but many times Celtic recovered the ball and they were able to dominate and control, and they forced Rangers to play long a lot of times. And then if we see the attacks by flanks and danger level, we can see that Rangers didn't attack much from the left side. We spoke about this because Mickey Moore was playing more as an inside winger, and they were creating more in central zones between Mickey Moore and between Josef Chermiti. And then in the right side also, I think Gassama is also a player that from wide zones and from attacking the space in behind, he can contribute to some chances. And then in Celtic, Tommy, in the right side, Celtic was quite dominant, we can see here.
Yeah, I think they're balanced in their entries into the final third, but definitely watching it and then with the stats, felt like they had more dangerous opportunities coming from the right side. And I think we'll discuss it with some of the videos and pictures. But I think they really exploited that right half space really, really well with Yank, Nygren, and Kenny as well.
Okay, let's start, Tommy, to watch some clips about Celtic. Later, we will speak also about Rangers, but let's start with Celtic. This is a deep build-up from Celtic. We can see here the diamond, actually, already.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we definitely saw more in this game is the kind of ball side diamonds in wide areas. And you can see the back three kind of shaped up like a back four with Tierney more as a right back, Ralston and Trusty two center backs, and then Angles, who's positioned just to the right of the referee, is more in an inside position. And that's where you get the midfield diamond and then also their ball side diamond. And it really creates an overload on the side that they're trying to play on. And then they have these nice little combinations with diagonal passes entering the field where they can now progress forward.
Yeah, I think this is something they use quite much with Maeda as a wrong-footed winger. This ball, vertical ball from fullback to winger, and then this inside diagonal, third man run. No, let's say like this. And this is, for example, one of the situations that maybe it's not a scoring opportunity at all, but you can feel that Celtic was dominating and controlling the game.
Yep. Again, similar sequence, but higher up the field. This is one of their longer possession sequences, I would say, where you have a midfield diamond kind of moving off each other, rotating, and occupying different positions, playing off each other's movements, and then they're able to create a good situation from here.
It's again, it's the 3-4-3 diamond, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think this one is a great example of the positives for Celtic, but also where it didn't lead to anything. So as you keep playing this, great little sequence. And then they've got a runner in the back line with, pause it right here. That's great. So right here, perfect. They've narrowed off the back line. They've got two players stretching the back line, ready for the early service, which is something that I think they did really well or recognized, but maybe didn't execute it really well. And they've got a runner who wide here is going to receive the ball if the ball is played properly. So this is a great situation where you've got a forward runner ahead of their direct opponent. You've got players looking to run in behind to receive an early ball behind the back line. This for me felt like an ideal situation based on Celtic's game plan, but also the way Nancy sees the game as well.
Yeah, I in this situation, I think it's McCowan who lost the ball. I think I like the guy, the energy he puts, and he's like a very Scottish player, no, with a lot of energy for pressing, very dynamic. He covers a lot of ground and this, but it's true that in some situations during the game where Celtic were able to find the advantage, he then lost the ball, and he was lacking a bit this technique, no, in these tight spaces. But yeah, here another diagonal ball. In this case, Kenny drops deep. We can see a run in behind. And then attack with Yang in the right side.
And then again, if you pause here, you've got a center back who's not protecting the goal based on the way that Celtic has attacked. They've drawn someone out of the back line in a position they shouldn't be in and have had multiple runners running forward and behind. It's a great situation. And there's technically, I'd say, a 4v2 in Celtic's favor in the box at this moment because the left center back is out of position. And as you'll see, the service is not good enough to get the best out of this situation.
Yeah, because if we stop it here, Tommy, it's almost a 4 against 2 in the box.
Yeah, it's
The,
it's a
the
great situation, especially with what we talked about with the type of service Nancy would prefer. When we discuss Celtic, it's more low hard crosses or crosses in front of the back line on the ground, where some of their quicker, maybe shorter players have an advantage over Rangers defenders who are dominant in the air.
Mhm. But yeah, I think during the game there were many of these situations, and especially I think Celtic attacked well the gap between centre back and fullback, especially in the right side as we spoke. But yeah, they were just missing this last pass, this basically to finish off the actions. And we can see here another example, a great combination from a throw-in.
And so this one I think highlights again some of the positives and negatives of this run for Celtic. Is this is exactly what they want from attacking sequences, players in close combinations, connecting, running off each other, finding a free player inside the box. But that chance right there would have made it 2-2. And there's a chance right after Rangers ties at 1-1 where Celtic can go down and score with Maeda again. And these are where we were talking about some of the moments where Celtic, if they capitalize on that when they have momentum or when they're trying to gain it right back after they've lost it, the results would have been very different.
Yeah, we can see here another example. I think, as I say, the Rangers. I have later more pictures. We will talk about Rangers, but yeah, we can see how the centre backs they suffer to defend the space in behind. I think Kenny did great movements, but then we can see another, I think, clear chance that is missed.
Yeah, and this is the same one. This is the one I was just talking about earlier, right after Rangers ties 1-1. Same situation where they exploit that right half space gap with Yang driving, and now you've got a center back defending wide areas. And what I love about this is if you pause here, we've talked about how Celtic has looked for these low early balls behind the back line a lot. Whether they were successful or not is another thing. But Nygren recognizes he has a center back in a wide position. Maybe Nygren doesn't have the pace to beat him, but what he realizes is if I switch the ball in front of the back line, I'm going to create an advantage on the opposite side. And I think he does that really well. And as you'll see, as he plays this, you've got a center mid stepping across two defenders to win this ball. And then left back at left center back, and Maeda's, because of this confusion, is able to create like a half, let's say 2 yards of space, where McCowan does well to find a little slip pass to him. And this is a golden chance right after it's gone 1-1 to go up 2-1 and bring momentum and bring the crowd back in it for you. And these were some of the moments that I don't think Celtic capitalized on at all, and especially with the crowd in this game as well.
Yeah, I think that as you say, there were so many opportunities. I think the goalkeeper of Rangers did well, but yeah, I think they missed some chances that at this level, I think it was a game that it could ended easily 3-4-1 in the first half. I think the second half Rangers was better. At least they added some attacking threat and they defended a bit better in the mid block. We will see later why. But yeah, we will see now one clip about Celtics defending.
Yeah, so I think what their defensive shape was typically a 5-2-3, but in this situation, Nygren is more of a second striker with Yang, who's the right wing back, higher on Rangers' left back, and it almost looks more of a 4-2-4. So this was a common trend for them, whether they were going man to man higher up the field, a high press with a +1, or a mid or low block. This was a pretty common trend. The only difference would be sometimes Kenny would shield the 6 with the goalie to take the +1, and then the 2 6s would take Rangers' 2 number 8s in that situation to keep a +1 in the back. But this was very standard for them defensively.
And you wanted to highlight also this, Tommy, this throwing?
Yeah, so I think this is interesting, and I think this is maybe something that is a great lesson, I think, for all of us, is when you're in a situation where you try to join a club mid-season and you're trying to implement a style of play, that sometimes set pieces and throw-ins are the thing you think about the least. And the the two goals that Celtic gave up come from two of their own throw-ins. The first one I think everyone's talked about, which I'm not going to bring up, more of a just a simple pass mistake, and then just the angle of recovery from the center backs. I think we've all discussed this. For me, I think this one is a bigger issue, where you're deep in your own half and your center back is lining up to take a long throw. Your right wing back's there. Your number 10 is 5 yards away, and you've got your number 8 and your number 6 level with the thrower, and then your left wing back is high and wide, and then your number 9 is the one who actually receives this long throw. And what ends up happening is they lose this ball, and there's just this huge hole in the middle of the field, that then Rangers is able to capitalize on that space and kind of finish off Celtic. I know the goal probably Schmeichel is like, I have to do better for sure, but for me it just comes from this moment where you're just not in the right structure on a throw in, and this something is very simple. And Celtic lost this game off 2 throw-ins. They've lost other games and momentum off defensive set plays. So as much as the pretty stuff that they do, this is something that is, I think, very, very important when you first take over a club, especially mid-season, but is also probably the hardest thing to convince or teach players, because it might not be the main part of your principles or your philosophy. And when you first get into a club, that's the first thing you want to teach. That's the glamorous stuff. That's the sexy things. But this is the stuff that in a lot of seasons and a lot of leagues can win you games and win you points.
Actually, the goal for Celtic came from a throw-in also, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of goals coming from throw-ins. That is something that teams are not probably preparing good enough at that times, that like football is improving tactically in many ways, but still in terms of throw-ins, now we are seeing more long throw-ins, but this kind of how to progress from wide areas in throw-ins, or how to defend these situations, is still a lot to improve. This, Tommy, is actually one of the goals of Rangers, also from a throw-in. I think it's, if I'm not wrong, if it's Ralston that lost the ball, and then a good transition from Josep Chermiti, which it's a striker that we should take a closer look onto him, because he's only 21 years old, coming from Everton. And yeah, I think in this situation, rewatching it again, I think Trusty, he's too much focused on his man, instead of maybe closing down Chermiti. What are your thoughts on that goal?
I agree that's my initial reaction. The other thing I think that may have been an influence in this is how we just talked about some of the moving parts for Celtic in possession. When they lose the ball, it exposes this back three to a lot of distance, a lot of decisions in moments like this, and it's very quick thinking. So I think maybe in this situation, Trusty's like, okay, and this might have been discussed in transition. If it's that front three is going direct at you, you go 3 for 3, and he might have just thought of it that way. But yeah, I agree. Easy thing is to close the space, and if Chermiti ends up crossing this to Gasana at the back post, I think you're like, okay, we'll take that instead of letting him walk it in.
So after watching this about the throw-ins, I think they were important part of the game. But another important part of the game, and I think where Rangers suffer a lot, and I think Celtic did well attacking the centre back fullback gap, especially on Rangers' left side, Celtic's right side. I think we can see here how the left back of Rangers, Megoma, stepped a lot to press the winger, actually, because Yang was more of a winger. So when he stepped out to press, this gap between centre back fullback was huge. Especially, I think Emmanuel Fernandez is not a centre back that likes to move into wide areas. I think the right centre back Soutar is not also this profile of player either. They are more box defenders, and I think they suffer a lot in this kind of situations. And here we have one example. Here we have another example in the other side, and another. In this case, I think it's Maeda, the player running in behind, creating some problems. And we can see here again the same situation: huge space between centre back and fullback. And yeah, I think Rangers suffer a lot in this kind of situations. I think that their two centre backs also, they are not fast to defend the spaces in behind, and I think Celtic did a great job to attack these gaps during all the game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a product of that midfield diamond, overloading Rangers' midfield 3 or midfield 2, however you want to view it. And so then with that, they're late to track this run. But then also Rangers' center backs are probably thinking, hey, we're going to stay with Kenny in the box. We're going to keep our +1 centrally. That's the center midfielder's job to follow that run. And so it's very tough to take care of and get pressure on kind of midfield overload while also tracking a run into the space behind. And as you see, these only 2 or 3 yard separations, when the passer is able to recognize this is a space to exploit. And by the time the situation develops with the receiver having the ball, it's a 5 or 6 yard gap. So yeah, I think maybe some of it was positional or responsibilities, but also I think natural tendencies or athleticism of those players on Rangers that weren't meeting Celtics. And so that's where they're able to like often create this advantage.
Yeah, I agree with you. In one thing probably is player qualities, and yeah, these are not center backs that they are maybe used to defend far from their position. And also, I think what you say, the overload in midfield, the diamond Celtic created, it was actually a problem in the first half for Rangers. We can see here an example. I have a clear example of this. We can see both midfielders of Rangers together with 2 of these 4 players from the diamond. Then we can see Asgard, the advanced midfielder, also with McGregor. And I think we can see here, I'm not sure if it's Engels, totally receiving alone and being able to turn the game into the other side. So this happened a lot during the first half. I think the Rangers midfielder, they were struggling, and yeah, I think Rangers had to do something on the halftime. And I think on this, I give credit to Danny Rohal. Also, Danny Rohal actually is a very young coach, only 36 years old. I think last season, what he did in Sheffield Wednesday, they were in relegation zone. He took them and started to win a lot of games, and they end up the league in championship. That it was the goal, and he has been actually 7 years ago. He was video analyst in Leipzig, and he has been under great coaches like Ralf Rangnick, under Hansi Flick with Germany, has been in Southampton with Ralf Hasenhüttl. So I think he had a lot of, he was working with a lot of great coaches. Probably he learned a lot, and now he's doing also a great job in Rangers. And I think in the halftime, he fixed, basically he took Asgard out, and he played more of a 4-3-3 with Diomande in the left side of this flat 3. And this helped Diomande to stay with Engels, who in the first half created a lot of problems by moving to wide zones. And what they did basically is to try to screen shadow McGregor, the number 6. They say, okay, we're going to leave one free player, probably McGregor, but maybe it's the less dangerous one because he's the more positional one. And we think that we can cover him well with the striker, with the front line 3. And for me, that was key in the game. And also, Mickey Moore was higher up in the pitch, which helped to score one of the goals. I think Mickey Moore is a great player, and in the first half, he was worrying too much about Engels probably, and had to drop back. And in this case, Diomande was there, so he was not worried about having to cover Engels. So he was more able to step to the right back. and then he was able also to play more inside, and we can see here in this example. Another example I have here, same. We can see the flat three midfielders with Diomande covering angles, and in this case, the front line three. We spoke about Gassama, the right winger, about Youssef Chermiti, the striker, and Mickey Moore. In this case, when the ball is in the side with the left centre back, covering McGregor and leaving free the right centre back. For me, the halftime changes, changing Asgard for Diomande and the idea of going to a 4-3-3 flat with Mickey Moore higher up, it was a game changer. I think Wilfred Nancy got all the tactic right, especially in the first half. But then Dani Rojo, I think he probably knew that made a mistake in the game plan for the first half, or maybe something that he didn't expect from Celtic. But then I think he corrected in the halftime with those changes, and also Rangers were able to punish Celtic in some specific situations, like into throwing. But yeah, do you agree with me, Tommy, that this was actually a game changer, the halftime substitution?
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is my own personal opinion on kind of its tactical tendencies. Is I think a lot of teams defend in a 4-4-2 or 4-4-2 diamond, but I really enjoy seeing teams that defend in a 4-3-3 that's more flat with a narrow front three, and then a wider midfield three that covers the width of the pitch or deals with any sort of rotations in wide areas. Some of the teams I've loved seeing it is Nordstrand. I've watched a couple of their games. They're great at it, and Liverpool's great at it. But I think a lot of the benefits are, yes, it becomes more simple for the midfield, and they are able to be the ones pressing and doing the dirty work, something that's more natural for them than someone like Mikey Moore. And then I think you saw the direct byproduct of this is your front three is very close in central positions, and it's great for transition or creating chances. And I think that was the biggest compliment, is this chance here, transition, even if it's from a throw-in situation, you still have your front three in a very narrow and central area, and then the one you just showed, same concept. So I definitely think those are all linked, and it was a great halftime change by Danny Roll.
Yeah, and also Diomande, I think he participated in at least 2 of the 3 goals. I don't remember well in all, but by winning some duel, by playing the first ball that lead into this attack, and then also what we spoke about Mickey Moore. So yeah, I think it was he got it right, Danny Rojo, in the halftime, and then Rangers, they were able to win and to close. Tommy, for me, I have been reading a lot about Wilfred Nancy during these last hours. Honestly, I think he could have stayed at least until the end of the season and then evaluate again. Maybe he made some mistakes in terms of maybe wanting to implement his playing style too early, maybe making some changes in formation where players didn't feel comfortable with. I don't know. I want to know also your opinion, Tommy. But yeah, I think using that Wilfred Nancy has been sacked to start saying that he cannot implement his ideas from MLS because MLS is not a competitive league, and that Wilfred Nancy's ideas are not worth it. Well, I obviously don't agree. They are the same ones that they say that Ligue 1 in France is a farmers league, which is. We had Jesus Perez, the assistant coach of PSG, saying that it's one of the best leagues in the world, and that the rhythm they play in that league helps many players to play in Premier League. We say that by a professional who played who coached in clubs like Chelsea, PSG, and yes, same with MLS. I know you have been watching. I have been watching some MLS games. You have been watching also, Tommy. I think the level is getting better and better every year. There are many great players there, great coaches also coming like Wilfred Nancy, and I feel it's a bit unfair to say that Wilfred Nancy tactics work in the MLS because the level there is lower than in Scotland, for example. And I wish from here that Wilfred Nancy can find another team. We will follow. I think it was fun to watch. Actually, this Celtic Rangers was a fun game to watch. I'm used to watch more Premier League games, and I found this game more I don't know, interesting somehow, more fun to watch. A lot of chances, also some great combinations, and obviously a big game for both supporters, but from here we wish Wilfred Nancy to find a club, and we close with this, Tommy, and with your opinion about these comments.
Yeah, I think I might have said it, and I definitely thought of it when we discussed the Columbus to Celtic move and what we wish would be some of the lasting impact from this move, and it's gone the opposite way. And this honestly, it reminds me a bit of when Bob Bradley moved to Swansea City and was in the job for maybe 5 days less or 5 days more, something like that. Very, very small portion. And then all American coaches are labeled like that until someone like Jesse Marsh has to come around and kind of fight against that narrative and try to change that opinion. It's still not great. And so I think this has done some damage in the public narrative on MLS, American coaches, even if he's not American. And just because I think a lot of people associate MLS as American, even though he grew up in France, his native language is French. So that's the overall picture that I'm disappointed about. Is I think he's a great coach. He's an innovator. He thinks about the game differently, and I've learned a lot from him. So I'm sad in that capacity, but also maybe what the longer term impact will be from managers trying to move from MLS abroad. But there's also the realities that some of European football and the big clubs like Celtic don't have an MLS, and so I think that's a learning curve for us all. So those for me are my major takeaways from following Wilfred Nancy's Celtic over the last month.
Yeah, it's what you say. It's the narrative that affect people, and people who take decision in football that also affects. And as Bielsa said many times, he says it doesn't affect me what you say, but it affects me the influence you have in some other people who takes decisions, no? And that's exactly what happens with these narratives. But we need to evaluate by watching the games and trying to not focus only in the results, because that will be unfair. And for example, if I watch Celtic against Rangers, I think Celtic had very good moments during the game. I think they could have won that game. I think later in the second half, Rangers punished them well, and Danny Rohel changed some things that help obviously to win the game, and credit to them. And Rangers, I think they have good players, and they're a good team too. But I feel it's a bit unfair. But that's football. That's life, and we'll see where is the next destination for Wilfred Nancy. And guys, remember to give us a like, to subscribe to our community. We will be trying to cover more different leagues. Like today, we went to Scotland. Last week, we were in Eredivisie in the Netherlands, and we will be covering obviously Premier League, La Liga, and more leagues. And we are preparing already some other teams. Maybe this week we go to France. We will see. But you can also join our coaching community. We have more than 100 people inside. And thank you so much for listening to us. See you guys.
See you.